send love to Washington.
Hello, I'm Rod, and this is Love to Washington. I have had a rough time this week and some sleepless nights. We are living in a very challenging political climate. I've repeatedly had the thought that events are actually being engineered to keep the American people in a state of fear and panic. It sure seems that way some of the time, doesn't it? I believe we owe it to ourselves to do whatever we can to stay in a balanced state of mind. Otherwise, there's no way we can participate effectively. And I believe that as a nation, we've entered into a chapter of our history where participation is not just important, it's absolutely vital. I recently had the depressing experience of allowing stories, social media posts, and articles on the internet to lead me down a very dark road into a place of terrible fear. I imagine that many people have been experiencing the same thing. I want to suggest taking the time to unplug a little bit from the constant barrage of news and opinions. Social media can be quite traumatizing these days. I would advise being very discriminating about what we read and absorb. You can stay informed without overwhelming yourself. If you're someone who usually follows the news, whether through the internet, the TV, the radio, I suggest giving yourself permission to unplug from it for a while, at least to lighten up. You can trust that if something important is happening, other people will be discussing it. You'll find out soon enough. Today I feel good, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So how did I lift myself up out of the fearful state that I was in? By taking time off from the media and surrounding myself with positive influences and positive people. I'm usually the one helping to calm down and uplift the people around me, but sometimes I too slip into a dark place, and then I'm the one that needs the help. When I'm in my right mind, I happen to believe that things are happening just as they should, just the way they need to. I believe there's an intelligent order in the universe, and I trust it. Most of the time. I know and I trust that the events unfolding in our country at this time are leading to some wonderful transformation. I see masses of people who are now willing to stand up and make their voices heard, where previously it seemed that most people were content to simply allow things to unfold in Washington without participating at all. I know I was definitely one of them. It is our participation and interaction which makes our government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We can't forget that. I believe that what's happening in our nation at this time is a catalyst that is bringing about healing and awakening on multiple levels. I'd like to describe for you the vision that I had this morning. We live in a time when the conditions are very ripe for people to make great leaps forward in consciousness and awareness. I had a vision of just a few people in our new president's inner circle. I saw these few people, upon giving due consideration and contemplation to the positions of great responsibility they've stepped into, stepping back and seeing a bigger picture than they were looking at before. We don't need to call this a spiritual awakening. We can call it simply an awakening of conscience, compassion, and responsibility. but call it what you will. I see just these few people in the president's cabinet awakening to their true responsibilities to the American people. I see these few people suddenly caring deeply about the highest and best interests of the American people. The people that it is now their duty to serve and represent. In my vision, these people concluded with absolute conviction that from this point forward they would represent the voices of common sense, responsibility, and compassion in that inner circle. And this perspective had a powerful impact on the other members of the cabinet, as well as on the president himself. This vision was so real to me that I could literally feel the overwhelming emotions they were experiencing. Can you take a few moments and just imagine this with me? Can you imagine those on the president's cabinet having powerful moments of awakening and awareness? Positive energy is much more powerful than negative energy. Can you imagine the impact that a few people in the president's cabinet, speaking from a place of common sense and compassion, could have on the events that unfold moving forward? Imagine this with me, please. Join me in taking a few minutes each day to send love and positive thoughts to Washington, our nation's capital. If Washington were a person, they would be in a state of unrest, confusion, and anxiety right now. Let's join together in supporting Washington with our love and our positive thoughts. Can you imagine our new president suddenly becoming the focus of our nation's attention in a different way, rather than being the cause of concern and anxiety? What if our entire nation began sending him positive thoughts and energy? What if we all imagine him having an epiphany that leaves him seeing the United States and his position in it with fresh new eyes and renewed vision? Can you imagine how much good he could do for our nation and its people? Think about that for a moment. I've spent my life opening my heart to love all people, and I have faltered in this recently. I was in fear of you, Donald, but now, in this moment, I can say that I love you, Donald Trump. I love you. And I pray that your actions as president result in the American people and other leaders around the world coming to love and respect you. As I light this candle for our new president, I'm imagining good things happening in our nation and our government.
Imagine our nation coming together, our people uniting as one. Imagine our leaders inspired and uplifted as we all send love to Washington. Let us all send love to Washington.